Hi everyone, it's Laura from Crafty Shifty, and today I'm sharing my 10 cards 1 kit video for the April 2017 Love from Lizi card kit. So the first thing I'm doing is I'm using all of these banner shapes. So there's all these little triangles and you can make bunting across the top of your card, which is really cute. But I had a feeling that it was sort of more of an obvious way to use it and people had figured that out, and I thought I'll try and do something slightly different and I'll make a geometric pattern. So I drew a line as my guide, and then I'm sticking the triangles pointing upwards, and then into those spaces I'm slotting the triangles pointing downwards, and I just repeated that using first of all the straight triangles and then the ones with the like crimped edges. So I then went ahead and stuck down a piece of the mirror cardstock in silver, and I'm just colouring in some of these white peel-offs. I wasn't a huge fan of the white peel-offs, I'm not going to lie, until I realised you can colour them in with your alcohol ink markers, and now I think they're my favourite colour. So I'm adding this sort of zigzag stitching across the bottom of the card there, and then cutting off the excess, and I'll just spin it round and I'll do the same. So you can see at the moment that all of those triangles are sort of hanging off the edges of my card. I think it's important to do it that way to give the, I don't know, like the design looks like it fits onto the paper properly, rather than you just having it sort of in the middle of the card. So if you have these pieces floating off the edge and then you trim off the excess, it almost looks like you had a geometric patterned paper, but it's got some dimension to it because you've stuck down those flag banner shapes. And there are a ton of these in the kit, so I've got loads left. I've got plenty to do bunting as well. Okay, so then I'm adding a Spring Has Sprung, and I really regret not adding this on a mini action wobbler. I think that was a missed opportunity. I might have to go in and fix that at some point. But it's super cute for card 1, and we'll move straight into card 2. So card 2 is a teeny weeny card. I decided to make a really small card for this one, and I've got a piece of white cardstock that I'm die cutting the bunny out of, and then I'm going to do that again twice out of some of this patterned purple and white dotted paper. So I've also created a card base, and I've not got the exact dimensions, but it's a lot smaller, you'll see as I'm working with it. And that was just because I wanted the bunny design to fit in quite nicely, and it would have got a little bit lost on a standard size note card. So it looks really cute if you set the white on white just like that, but instead I'm going to layer these pieces behind. So I line it up perfectly, and then I shift it slightly down and to the right, and that just means that you get a little peek of the outline along the top and the left hand side. And then I'm going to do the opposite, so I'm going to line it up perfectly, shift it up slightly and over to the left, and then that just fills in the gaps around the bunny. So I played with this for a while until I had everything exactly where I wanted it. It would have made life a little bit easier if I'd have centered up the pieces of paper, if I'd have like cut them all the same size and cut the bunny in the exact same place, but I didn't do that. So once I had everything in place, I held it together with a little clip and then cut off some of the excess, and then just lifted the pieces up and added in some glue. So this is multi-medium in the matte finish, and I'm just putting that along the edges of the bunny. Press the paper down and then go ahead and do the same thing with the next piece. So once I had that all held in place, I just removed that clip and cut off some of the excess. I think this is a really nice way to get like a patterned, it's almost like a drop shadow behind a die cut image, and it just adds a little something extra. You could of course just do this with the white on white, and that looks super cute as well. So then I've stamped the Easter sentiment in Hot Mama ink, which is from Simon Says Stamp. I had to get the name of that ink in because it's just hilarious. I think it's one of my favourites, Hot Mama. So I'm layering that up, just adding that with sticky tape. Again, you could have used some foam for extra dimension, but I quite like this. It's almost like a clean and simple card, but it still has really nice impact. So that is card 2. And moving on to card 3, I stamped a whole bunch of the Easter eggs. So the stamps that are included in this set are sort of more of an Easter theme, but the patterned papers are like really spring and sunshine, as well as the stickers. So this really does work right through spring. I really like it. So I've gone ahead and stamped out all of these Easter eggs a couple times, and there is also a plain Easter egg which I'm going to use later on in the video in a different way. And I started off with my Zig Clean Colour Real Brush pens and a water brush pen, and then I gave up on that and I decided it was taking too long, so I just used the Zig pens exactly as they are without diluting them with the water. So I just made sure when I was colouring this in not to have two sort of wet areas next to each other at the same time, which is why you see me jumping around as I'm colouring in. So then I fussy cut all of the eggs out. Now the colours are super wacky on this card. It's kind of bright and crazy and all over the place, but for me that's okay for Easter. You've got to have some crazy colours. So I took one of the pieces of paper and I've just stuck that directly onto my card base, and then I'm trimming it out. I did it this way. This is sort of a tip that Lizzie shows in her videos, because then that way you don't have to do a big long straight cut and cut right across your paper, so you've still got some good sized pieces of paper to work with. I hope that makes sense. So I'm sticking down 4 of these eggs with, again, the multi-medium in the matte finish, and this just makes sure if any of the glue sort of oozes out of the sides, then it dries really clear and it dries matte, so there's no shine to be seen, so it's good for people who make mistakes like me. So I did another row of the eggs just flat onto the card, and then for these last 3 I'm popping them up with some double-sided foam dots. I'm just playing with that, deciding exactly where I want them. And I think I actually go in and move one of those. So with the foam tape, I didn't press it down, I just sort of lay it gently on the card, so I still had that wiggle room. So I'm going to take a couple more stickers from this sticker pack, and one of the girls on the design team is actually using these stickers and the pattern papers in her planner, which I'm really excited to see because, yeah, I've been a bit lazy with my planner recently, so I'm looking forward to getting some planner tips from her. So I'm using the white gel pen included in the kit to do some white stitching marks, and also to add some white dots and detail onto some of the Easter eggs. So I decided it looked a little bit empty, so I added springtime, so the sentiment now reads love springtime, and I think that's really cute for this bright crazy card with all of those colours. Okay, so on to card 4. This card makes me laugh. I don't know, maybe you'll agree, but it makes me chuckle every time I see it. So I inked up the feet and then I wiped off some of the ink, and the reason why should become clear in just a minute. I went ahead and lined up the plain egg, and I wiped off some of the ink where I thought the feet were going to hit the egg. So my stamping is going to look like I missed some bits, but it is intentional, I promise. I went in with a Copic marker and I just drew on the rest of the eggs and also some crack marks, the rest of the legs, and I drew some crack marks in the egg, so it looks like those feet have just sort of busted out. It makes me laugh. There we go. I did some really simple colouring to colour in the feet, and then some very light grey shading, and just blended that out on the egg. And then I've used another light grey to create some ground, used my T-square ruler to try and get it straight because that's something I struggle with, and again I just blended that out. So to finish off the top of this card, I'm adding some of the twine that came in the kit. This twine would be really great for creating bunting, but it looks really nice on its own, so I wrapped it around 3 times, and I'm just tying a simple knot. And in a minute I'll just stick down the ends of the twine with, again, some multi-medium in the matte finish. So I'm not actually adding a sentiment onto this card, the reason being that I think I'm actually going to use this as almost like a baby card, so maybe next time I hear that somebody's pregnant I'll add a sentiment on there, or next time a baby's born. I just think that egg with the feet coming out and the whole like new life and spring, I think it works really nicely for a baby card. Okay, so card 5, we are halfway through. I'm drawing a flower pot. Yes, I needed to measure it out and use my ruler because I'm limited with my artistic talents, but there we go. And if you're wondering why I've changed rulers, I'm using this Tim Holtz ruler because it has a metal edge, which is really great for using your craft knife. So I'm going to go ahead and cut out this flower pot, and then pop out that white piece. I can't talk today. I don't know what's wrong with me. I've had a break from doing videos for a while because of some problems with my health and my dad's health, and my dog's had a couple operations and it's just been crazy. So I don't know, maybe I forgot how to do voiceovers. I haven't been silent that whole time though, so you'd think I'd still know how to talk. I'm rambling. So I'm adding the raffia that comes in the kit. It's in a couple different colours, and I'm just laying this down in an order, just a repeating sequence to fill up that flower pot. And I added double-sided sticky tape to stick that all together. I think this is one of my favourite cards, maybe my favourite card from this kit. I just think it looks super cute, the way it turned out with that little flower pot, and I have been loving being in the garden recently. So I live in the UK, as you may be able to tell from my accent, and we don't get that many days with sunshine, and when we do, I'm usually in work. So we've had some nice sunshine days recently, and it's been really great to just be in the garden. I've not had a garden before, or at least not for many years. I've been in flats previously, so yeah, it's really exciting to be able to have a nice garden and to have the dog running around in the garden, and yeah, I'm enjoying it. So trying to get into my gardening, enjoying the flowers, enjoying buying plant pots and things. And if I could buy this in real life, I would be so happy because I think it looks really cute. Okay, back to the card. So I'm sticking down a whole bunch of these flowers. Some of them I'm taking the stick off completely on the back of my hand by sort of sticking them down and lifting them up a few times, so I can add some 3D glue dots and stick those down, so we've got some dimension there, and we've got like a nice little really full plant pot. Once I've got all of those stuck down in place, I'm going to take a green gel pen and draw in some stems. It probably would have been a little bit easier to draw the stems first, however I didn't know where the flowers were going to be, so I sort of had to play with it and lift up the stickers just a little bit where I could to make sure I could get those stems in place and put those into the plant pot. So that's it for card 5. Again, oh no, I did add a sentiment, I'm just lying. So I added the bloom where you are planted sentiment. Okay, so moving on to card 6, and I'm using the pink and white bunny paper. So I wanted 2 little bunnies in love for this card, so I'm just showing you how, if you die cut from the back side of the paper, you'll get a mirror image die cut. And I cut 2 of the bunnies out of the mirror cardstock. I later changed my mind and decided to use white instead, so you'll see that they change, and I actually end up sticking down white pieces. Okay, so I've stuck down my paper and it's horrendously off center. So to fix that, I just went ahead and used my paper trimmer to trim off 2 of the edges and just line that up so it looks a little bit better. So I've got the white pieces, and I'm just adding a very little bit of shading with some grey markers and some little bit of pink for the cheeks. So I'm using my multi-medium in the matte finish again. I feel like I've said that a lot this video. I'm just going to start calling it glue. So I'm sticking down those rabbits, and then I'm using a little bit of glue to stick down the fluffy white pom-poms for their tails. They're just so cute. At this point, I'm sort of realising that that white gets a bit lost, and maybe I should have used the mirror cardstock, but to help them stand out, I just outlined everything with the white gel pen that again was included in the kit. So I decided to add a few more stickers, a couple of flowers and some butterflies, and I actually I've got a heart up there on the left hand side, and in a second I'm just going to go ahead and move that into the heart that's in the middle, so there's like a nested heart there. I think this is really cute, the 2 little bunnies sort of looking at each other, clearly so in love. I really like it. Okay, so moving on to the next card, and card 7 isn't strictly a card. Eagle-eyed viewers may notice it is not a card at all. So I'm going to go ahead and score some of this purple and white polka dot card again, and I think I'm going to repeat this. I'm going to do a video that just focuses on these boxes so you can see exactly how to put these together, because I have a feeling I'm going to get a couple questions on the dimensions that I've used for this. So I've gone ahead and done all of my scoring, and then I'm just cutting out where I need to. There's a couple sections that get cut off completely, and then I just create some small notches to help everything fold together really nicely without the edges of the cardstock just bumping into each other. So I'm going to use that bunny die again, and I'm just centering that up exactly where I want it on that panel, and I made sure I did a practice run with some cheap white paper to make sure that my box was going to be exactly the right size for that bunny die. So I've got some acetate that I'm just sticking down around the bunny. This is just to make sure that when I fill my little treat box, none of the treats fall out. You can use some leftover packaging, or as I say, I used acetate here. So I've got some double-sided sticky tape, and I'm putting that on the bottom flap and also that side tab. I don't know why I peeled the backing off this piece on the bottom, because I'm not sticking that down yet, so that was a bit silly. You can ignore that. But if you go ahead and peel the sticky tape off that tab on the side, and then the easiest way to put together these types of boxes, I find, is just to actually fold them in half and press it down, and then they'll stick really nicely. So to close up the bottom of the box, I'm going to go ahead and add some more double-sided tape and close that down. I'm using quite a bit of tape. You could just use tape on the bottom layer, but I find that when you're going to fill the box with something quite heavy, like I'm going to, it's quite nice to have that really sturdy and well stuck down. So I'm going to use these milk chocolate eggs. They were really inexpensive and they come in some really nice colours. So I've got a few nieces and nephews that I'm hopefully going to make some of these treat boxes for. So I'll capture that on video and share that with you. And there you have it. I've used one of the little pegs to hold it together, and you have a super cute treat box and nothing's going to fall out of it. Okay, so the next card is a card. So card 8, this is where I'm using that egg stamp, but I'm not creating an Easter card, so this is more of a spring card. I was looking at these eggs and I was trying to figure out what you could do with them that wasn't Easter themed, and I thought they kind of look like petals on a flower. And if you layer them together, if you sort of layer 5 of them together, I think it makes a really, really pretty flower. So I did that with, I stamped it out on some of the pattern paper, went ahead and cut it out, and then lay those down on my card base, again with some of the pieces hanging off the edges, and I'll just trim them up. Another thing that I was thinking that you could do with this egg is stamp it repeatedly with the egg sort of overlapping in different sections, and then use it as like a Zentangle pattern. I'm hopeless at that, I'm not gonna lie. I had a go. It looked pretty awful, so I haven't shared it with you, but I'd love to see it. If somebody else has got this card kit and they've got mad skills, I'd be very excited to see that. So if you do that, please do let me know. Share it with me on Instagram or Facebook, or in the Love from Lizi Facebook group. Okay, so I've die cut the spring die and popped out all of the centres, and I'm just gluing that down and holding it in place with a block. And then I'm using the Nuvo drops that came in the kit to add the centres of the flower, and also to colour in those dots under the word hello. So I then thought, in my infinite wisdom, I would fill in the letters within this spring die cut with the Nuvo drops. I got a bit too enthusiastic and I added a little bit too much, so I ended up having to let it dry slightly and then come in with this little pointy tool and scrape away some of the excess so you could somewhat read what the word said. I think it turned out okay in the end once it had dried, and you can see it here in the pictures. Okay, so card 9. I had great hopes for card 9. It was an ambitious one. I'm not going to go into detail of exactly how I put this together, because we'd be here for a lot longer than you'd want to be. But this is a slider card, and I've gone ahead and stuck down some of that blue paper, and I'm going to create 2 hills using the yellow flowery paper. So I have drawn an outline on the card there in pencil, and I'm just following that. I'm cutting out the 2 hill shapes, and I want one in the front and one in the back. And so I'm just cutting out that back hill now, and that's my preferred way for cutting out hills. I think it is a good way to use your paper and not sort of have a lot of your paper sort of hidden behind. So this is a spare piece of white cardstock, and I'm just cutting out a track for my slider to run down, and it's going to be this little snail that you can see on the left. There are a couple of wood enamel pieces included in the kit, and this is one of them, and I think he's super cute and was just begging to be on a slider card. So in order to make the slider mechanism work, I'm adding a couple layers of double-sided foam tape, so we've got some room there, and then I'm creating my little slider mechanism. So again, I'm not going to go into huge detail as to how to make this. I'll hopefully have some more videos in the future showing how to make slider cards. But if you're after more information, a quick search on YouTube will bring up a whole load of videos, or you can check out my future videos. So I've got my little slider mechanism that's going to sit in there, and my snail's going to sit on top, and I'm going to cover that up with another hill. So I'm just checking how that looks, and then I'm creating a little arm for the slider. So I'm going to stick that to the back there, just making sure that any of that excess glue is hidden behind this little arm. And then I'll stick that down to my slider mechanism and add glue just on the bottom and the sides, just to make sure that nothing's glued in place where that snail needs to have his movement. So he can move along his track there and go down the hill. I made sure to follow the same curve for the slider track as I'd drawn for the hill, which means that as he moves along that track, he sort of follows the shape of it. I don't know if that makes sense. Hopefully it does. I'm using some Prismacolors to colour in the snail. I would definitely recommend doing that before you stick it down. It would have been a lot easier, but I didn't, so there we go. And then, just so the snail has something to go towards, I'm sticking down a little flower so he can travel along that hill and go and sniff the flower, which I just think is adorable. I really liked the way he sort of moves along, and he really does look like he's sniffing the flower. Anyway, card 10. I've got this lovely white, almost like confetti patterned paper, and I'm sticking that down on the card base, covering it completely, and then I have a piece cut at an angle. Until I started doing these 10 card one kit videos, I didn't realise how much I like this sort of card design, where you have a piece of patterned paper, then you have another piece cut at an angle, then you have something that sort of borders that, maybe a strip of the mirror cardstock, or as I'm doing here, I'm cutting out a strip of the multicoloured hexagons. And once I've got those all cut out, I'll stick that along the edge there, just to cover up the gap where the two pieces of paper meet. And this is a card design I find myself falling back on or leaning towards. I don't know, I don't think it's a fallback, it's not like a plan B. I really like this card design, so I find myself gravitating towards it more often. And I've stuck down one of the stickers there with some double-sided sticky tape and added a little banner at the top that says "Just for you." Okay, so that is my 10 cards one kit for April. I'll mention a couple things to you while I'm just while I'm flying through these cards really quickly. There are a few kits available, which is unbelievable. This is quite unusual for there to be kits available, so if you're after one, if you're interested, head over to Love from Lizi as quick as possible, because there aren't very many of them and I don't want you to be disappointed. There are subscriptions available to the kits if you're interested. All of the information is on the Love from Lizi website, and I'll have it linked below. And if you have one of these kits and you want to share your creations, you could tag Love from Lizi on Instagram, you could use the hashtag LiziLoves, or you can share them in the Love from Lizi Facebook, which I'd highly recommend. It's a bunch of really nice crafters, all supporting each other and giving people feedback and advice. It's a great place. Okay, so there's my 10 cards one kit, or rather 9 cards one super cute little treat box, but I think that's allowable. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye for now.